it personal. I ain't lying, I ain't hiding. I've been grinding, multiplying. I've been trying to get my weight up, staying prayed up, meditating and taking time away. You always posting up pictures, trying to look like you winning. I'm writing rhymes in the kitchen, soaking in moments we live in, yeah. You got the nerve to be on me, faking your life for the IG. If you got my number, don't add me, cause baby, I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. Baby, don't check for me. Taking time out to be and live my life off screen. Taking time out to be and live my life. Hey. Taking just don't do and live my life. Don't take it personal. We just building. It's my season. Lay foundation. Make a name for generations. Please and make a then take a break or a little vacation and chasing blues away. Hey, hey. You always posting up pictures, trying to look like you winning or look like you always be working, soaking the moments you live in. Yeah, you got the nerve to be on me, faking your life for the IG. If you got my number, don't add me, cause baby, I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. Baby, don't check for me. Taking time out to be and live my life off screen. Taking time out to be and live my life. I'm in a place serene and pure and free. Hey, I ain't worried about what's the wave, only worry about me, yeah. Oh, I'm taking time out to be and live my life off.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Nate Manahan, and it's time for Office Hours, our weekly show with Mike and Jenny, where we talk about, well, all things paper tech, things you need to know, things you may have questions about. And if you're watching live, we ask you, please jump in the chat. And thanks so much for doing that. Before I get started, let's do a little bit of introductions. On the, left-hand side from our Colorado office, looking, making all of us look a lot better. Just let's be honest. It's Jenny Reichel. How are you, Jenny? How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you today, Nate?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. Last I looked, Michigan was up 11 points. You guys know how much I love Paprotech, that I am not at the Michigan-Indiana game right now. I'm not, which is literally 10 miles away from my house. I am here with all of you, putting out some content, and I expect when we get done today, Michigan is up by at least 30 points and beating IU, which will not make all of our IU fans around here. I can't remember, Mike, are you an IU fan?
I'm not. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I have a good friend who is probably sad right now, but last 2 months we've seen this coming. We've just seen this coming, unfortunately.
Well, it is basketball March Madness season,
Yes.
and that's why we've always done this in March, because we're huge basketball lovers. And Indiana, having been founded here in Indiana, we kind of eat and breathe, basketball. But you don't have to love basketball to love March Madness, because we do bonuses for no matter what type of merchant you bring in. All kinds of new opportunities. And I haven't even told Mike and Jenny this is what we're doing. I'm going to roll out another opportunity that we'll send out an email out later this afternoon. We're doing a Topgolf event at ETA together with our other NAB Holdings partners, and a training in Las Vegas on April 11th. That's just about a month and a day away from today. And we're going to be hanging out in Vegas. And here's the thing. If you come join us and you submit 5 deals, we're going to reimburse you up to 3 nights of housing. We're just going to reimburse you. Hey, we'll pay for your housing. Some limits. Don't go get the penthouse. Reasonable rooms at all the casinos there in Indianapolis, Las Vegas. If you do 10 deals in the next 21 days, the last 21 days of this month, we're going to pay for your airfare and any other and travel expenses. Now, there'll be some little bit of small tape. Look at the email coming out later today, but we want to continue doing promotions. Last week, I have a whole garage full of swag that I'm getting ready to ship out to people over the next 2 weeks. We're continuing to do the $300 and $500 bonuses, and now for the last 21 days, you can earn a free trip to Las Vegas on April 11th. So you need to sign up now. Look for all the details coming in an email later this afternoon. But now I want to come over to the best people in payments. Mike and Jenny act as our trainers all the time, and I'm going to go to Mike on this one first. Mike, how confused are people sometimes, especially when they start on payments, about what is a gateway? Is that something that confuses people? And can you kind of give us a basic understanding of what a gateway is?
It does confuse people. And as you said when we were talking before the show, it is just a word that's tossed about. A gateway means lots of things to people, and to us specifically, I think it means something that we use to integrate with another piece of software. But a lot of people use the word gateway about authorize.net because it not only does that, but it does lots of other things. So there are things that we're going to talk about in a little bit, like USA ePay, that we predominantly use strictly as a gateway. And then we have others that are used as a gateway plus invoicing and all kinds of other things. So I think by the end of our chat today, we will have cleared up some of the mud on the concept of a gateway.
Yeah, as I called it today, I called it the Gateway-palooza because it's not just one gateway. Sometimes in our payments world and some of our competitors, they have one chosen gateway. We have multiple. And in fact, we can connect to more gateways than we advertise. There are lots of little opportunities that we have. Jenny, you've come from somewhat of the you've helped a lot of payments. We talked about this. If you haven't heard her history, a lot of payments history. The gateway has evolved in the last couple of years. Do you find it used to be in order to do something online, you had to always use a gateway? That is not true anymore because there's a lot of direct connections for a lot of these things. Are people is it more use of gateway or less use of gateways now, having been in the industry for as long as you've been?
Oh, I would say I see it a lot more and more as time goes on. Like you said, there's a lot more options now than there was definitely than there was 10 years ago. A lot of host-based payment pages where you can just use a pay now button on a website or utilizing a shopping cart. Also, the reoccurring invoicing options. I mean, there's just so many other abilities as well as utilizing our edge pricing. We actually have gateways that can help support that pricing as well. So there are a lot more options, and so it's utilized a lot more and more as time goes on.
Well, and it becomes the gateway, like for a POS system. Mike, I'll come back to you on this. I mean, there are we have a lot of POS systems that are connected through a gateway, but one of the things, if somebody says, hey, I have XY POS, can we use it? One of the first questions you ask is, what gateway does it work on? How do you help partners walk through that and learn how a gateway can help us with POS?
Well, our first stop is the 15-page PDF that we have loaded at mypayprotect.com under the POS section. We have built a list over the years of all these different point of sale systems, and can we integrate with them on this platform, this platform, this platform, or this platform? And if so, yes, we can. Here's how we do it. Or no, you can't because it's proprietary. If it's not on the list, we go looking. We go to their website. Maybe you Google XYZ POS payment processing. And then oftentimes, for example, if we Googled Toast payment processing, you will find that it's a proprietary connection. We cannot integrate with Toast. If you are working with a micro system, you do that same thing. You can find out that, yes, we can integrate with micros by using specific pin pads that we can supply them. So you're really having a conversation probably with your relationship manager or Jenny or me, and we'll help you dig into that until you get comfortable referencing that list or doing some of that online research on your own.
Jenny, I'm going to come back to you to walk us through just some of the gateway options we have and ones we promote. And Mike was talking about, all the research that sometimes goes into this. But I'm going to stop here and remind people, we have several people for Jordan and Gazwan and Paul and those who've already, jumped in and made some chat. Those who are watching live, you can use the chat and ask questions. I'm watching and I'm getting my score updates thanks to Paul, so I can know what's happening as we do this live. But Jenny, as you walk some of our partners through, can you talk us through some of the main gateways and what some of the differentiators, whether it's cost or features, that you help people understand when it comes to our gateways at PayProTech?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main ones that we offer are going to be NMI, FluidPay, Authorize.net, and we also work a lot with USA ePay. So the ones that offer our edge pricing, that's going to be NMI and FluidPay. NMI and FluidPay offer a lot of the same features. NMI does also support automated level 2 and level 3 processing. So that's a nice feature of that as well. FluidPay is going to be more towards the edge pricing structure. So anybody who just needs a simple solution that's handling that edge pricing, we usually gear them towards FluidPay. We also utilize Authorize.net, which is definitely been around for a while. It's a nice system for connecting shopping carts, invoicing, recurring, things like that. And USA ePay, Mike had touched on this before. We use this a lot for integration. So if somebody's doing like Paradise or Hot Sauce, or perhaps they already have something that we didn't supply, but that USA ePay integrates with, that's where we utilize with that. So the 4 main ones that we offer are going to be NMI, FluidPay, Authorize.net, and USA ePay.
And I think one of the things that's happening a lot is we will continue to add gateways. So this past week, some of you who are in our NAB world learned that we have a new one coming out, PayTrace, and it's actually going to go in enrollment starting on Monday. You're going to be able to choose as one of the products that you could choose, and one of the features you could choose PayTrace. Here's one of the things that's happening, though. PayTrace isn't fully launched. PayTrace has been around for a lot of years. They have a wonderful product. They've not been on EPX. They're now getting integrated into EPX, but it's really being kind of a soft launch. So we're going to be bringing more information about that. One of the things we hear a lot of times is the difference between a SaaS, software as a service, and a gateway, and they kind of get blurred together. A lot of people have started thinking of ChargeZoom as a gateway. Well, it does facilitate a lot of the things that a gateway does. It facilitates the ability to work with a processor to a third-party software, but it's doing much more than that, and it's really helping those who are using QuickBooks and FreshBooks and those who live in those softwares get to payments really quickly. The last thing I think about when it comes to gateways, I hear a lot of questions, and Mike, I'm going to have you this. A lot of people, when you start talking gateways and they're using some of the features, they want to be able to not only do cash discount, but they may want to do also a different type, not just credit card and debit card, but a lot of merchants are coming for ACH options. How do you navigate that with our partners as they look for ACH options connected specifically like gateways and virtual terminals and the invoicing products?
Once you are enrolled with us and hooked up to the gateway of choice, there is typically a separate enrollment process within the software to get ACH payments. It's a separate cost, it's a separate charge, and it's a separate underwriting process, because now that ACH is actually going through a separate network in addition to ours. It's going to go through that gateway's ACH network. So it's an after the fact type thing. You add it on, and then from there, it's just as simple as any of the other features you use in these gateways.
What is the number one question? I'll let Mike and Jenny, I'll bring you both up on this, that you hear, or maybe not even question, maybe it's concern when it comes to gateways that causes a little bit of, like, I don't know whether it's not fear, or maybe it causes a slowing of the onboarding process, something not particularly happening the way some of these things we always want them to happen. Sorry, my phone was on. Rookie mistake. I forgot to turn my phone ringer off. So I'm bringing everybody on.
I'm from the office.
But one of the questions I ask, hey guys, what are some of the stumbling blocks that causes us to not use the gateway smoothly? Maybe they don't get up and running. What are things that our partners could be aware of to help make sure the gateways work the way they're expecting them to when they set them up, whether it's Auth.net or USA ePay or FluidPay or any of these?
I would say pricing. the pricing structure.
Okay.
If somebody is using authorized.net, we can set it up, but there's sometimes where a business owner already has an existing authorized.net account, so they don't need us to set it up. And so that additional gateway fee does or does not need to be applied. NMI and Fluid Pay do bill directly to the business owner, so we don't actually have that on our scheduled fees, but we do need to make sure that the business owner is aware. So I think it's really being aware of that pricing before they sign them up, so then you don't have to go back and say, hey, for authorized.net, I need to add this gateway fee to the pricing so we can have that set up. So just making sure you're aware of that before submitting the application.
That's really important because obviously you want to set those expectations. You want to make sure the merchant's understanding what they're paying and where they're paying it from, that it's not always coming from the statement. It's not always coming from the merchant fees being collected. And it may be a separate, credit card transaction, do that. And also I think, Mike, I'll have you talk about this, the difference between making, and this is true in all processing, a monthly fee versus a transaction fee. How does that, making sure that they understand that what added transaction fees there are when it comes to a gateway?
Yeah, good question. And kind of parallels with what I was going to say about Jenny's point. So Jenny made an example that said, hey, I already have authorized.net. Why do I need to change it? Well, from what I've seen, those folks are paying $30 to $50 a month and 10 to 15 cents per transaction. Our buy rate for authorized.net and most of our gateways are right in this same area is $6 a month and 5 cents per transaction. So what Nate's getting at is, well, what I'm getting at is it may be worth their time to move over to our authorized.net. They have the ability to move that information from one authorized.net vault to another authorized.net vault. But what Nate's saying is, let's make sure they understand that if we're charging this merchant interchange plus pricing, let's say we're charging them interchange plus 30 basis points and 10 cents per transaction, we want to be clear that they know that authorized.net is going to cost them $6 a month plus an additional 5 cents per transaction. So there's no surprises when they get that first bill.
That is extreme because we don't want surprises. Surprises are what, scare us away. Last thing, talking about gateways, and we'll come back to the chat, all those who are joining us if we have any questions. But when it comes to helping choose the right gateway, what would be your suggestion to our partners that have maybe never set up a gateway, or they have a choice? They have, 3 of them work with the software they're working with or whatever. How do you make the decision for the right gateway for that merchant that's going to be the easiest and the best to use? I'll let Mike go. Got it?
Good. I tell you that authorized.net is someone we've used for many, many years, and they've been around many, many years, 50 almost, I think now. And so that process that we use with authorized.net, as we're submitting an application, almost immediately there's a process that kicks in to create that authorized.net account, and then that customer is going to receive that automated email. With the other gateways that we provide, there is a manual process to that automated process I just said. So when possible, I would always recommend authorized.net. Now, caveat to that, authorized.net will not allow us to do edge pricing. As Jenny mentioned, NMI and Fluid Pay will, where you can add, and in this case, we'd actually call it a convenience charge or a convenience fee. So I try to pick the simplest one. And then next we pick the one that we have to use, maybe if we want to do cash discount. And then we explain to them what the process is, because we need to notify our team that builds these files. They get that information to the merchant, and that's the manual process I'm talking about versus the automatic process. So again, as you've said a lot, Nate, prepare them for the expectations. Authorized.net is an almost immediate reaction. The other ones that are requiring human interaction are not. They're not a couple hours maybe. And so it's just preparing their expectations as to what the next steps will be and what their merchants can expect. The concept behind most of these gateways are very similar. In fact, the back offices to most of these gateways are very similar. So there's nothing scary about them.
And Jenny, I'll come to you on this. For those who are already using auth.net or maybe FluidPay or any of these other products, and you walk into that merchant and you convince them to go business to you, but they want to stay using those pieces. What are things they should be thinking about? We talked a little bit with auth.net that they may want to make that switch. But if they were set up by another, agent through auth.net, what are things they need to think about, or another company? What are things when they transition from one processor to another, how to do that with some of these gateways?
That is a really great question. So the business owner really needs to have a good support system with the integration that they're using. So they need to get in touch with their tech support and advise them that they will be changing their processors. When the account is boarded, just reach out to us and we provide what's called a VAR sheet, and that's going to have all the information. So that's going to be able to have that input into their current system so that it'll change them to us as their current processor. So they really just need to rely on the support of their current POS system to say, hey, how do I enter this information? Is there anything additional that you need? And then we help just align that pathway, and hopefully it's a smooth transition for the business owner when they change over to us.
Love it.
Awesome.
Well, and the thing is, gateways, as Jenny was mentioning earlier, it's probably used more, and they're used in more diverse ways. And they've made a connection that there's very few things that are proprietary out there. Can you go and connect directly to Toast? No, not at this day. Who knows? They may change their business model at some point and look for and pivot to a different model. But at Toast, we can't connect to. We can't connect to Square. But there are very few proprietary softwares that aren't connecting in some way to be able to use them. And these gateways give us that huge opportunity that you can walk in and say, we used to use, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, we had a slogan in some of when we were doing some trade shows, we said, no deal left behind. And we want to give you that confidence when you walk into a merchant, when you're connecting with that merchant, that you provide a solution that meets their needs. And gateways are one of the huge opportunities that give you that. Just making sure you understand what it does and how they work with, and all the features that they have that we don't even touch. One of the things I notice is there's so many things I'll learn that a gateway does, and I'm like, I didn't know we were able to do that. We're able to do that. And there's so many small little niche things that they may do that may just meet a merchant down the road. So sometimes when a merchant says, hey, something really, I can't even think of an example right now that's odd, say, hey, I don't know for sure how we do that, but let me find out. And a lot of times you can find out that an NMI does that or a FluidPay does that because they've built something specifically just for that. Closing comments. Anything you guys would add to this conversation about gateways that's important for our partners to know?
I would say don't hesitate to reach out and ask us. If you're not sure what to set them up with, or if they currently have something and you're not sure if it integrates, just reach out. We're happy to help, making sure that we get everything right and get all the information correct so we can submit the application, get them moving and grooving and processing. So just reach out.
Mike,
Jenny,
anything else?
She took my answer, but I thought of another one.
Great minds think alike.
That's right. So when you're with the merchant or the potential merchant and you get the question, as Nate said, and you're like, that's a great question. Let me go back to my team and find out. This is a perfect opportunity for you to say, if I could get your statement, let me get them to work on the analysis. Let me talk to my team about the gateway question, and I'll come back to you with some options for pricing and processing. It just gives you an opportunity to one more time ask for that statement, and the time it takes to do that analysis also allows you that time to find the answer to their question.
Well, I think that wraps us up. Most of the chat that I see going on in our YouTube that are watching it live are bringing us the scores and telling us that Michigan's up 13 at halftime. So thank you, Michigan. On that, though, if you guys have questions, you have thoughts, you have other things you want to talk about when you're watching this, those of you, especially, most of you watch this and listen to this afterwards, you can always email partners@papertech.com. You can also, I have a trigger that I've put in on all of our YouTube. As soon as anybody puts a comment on any YouTube video, I get an instant alert, and then we can make sure they get answered there. So you can just answer it. All kinds of ways for us to make sure that you are getting your answers. You can reach out to your RM. You can reach out to Mike and Jenny. You can go partners.papertech.com, all these ways. And as we close out our time today, we'll be back next week at noon Eastern time on, the 17th. 2 days, next week, not 2 days, a week from today, it's St. Patrick's Day. It's going to be a green edition. You guys all going to wear green next week? Maybe we'll do something special. You never know what might happen. On that, everybody, we say thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Office Hours.